All right. Well, welcome everyone this afternoon to White Sands Self-Care Community. And I am your host, Laura Cross, and your resource for mindfulness and self-care. And today I have with us the wonderful Randi Goldstein. Sorry.
Fine.
I did anyway. Goldstein. And so she comes with us, and it's kind of a tough subject, but you are a funeral home director,
Director.
founder, fifth generation in your family,
I am
correct?
actually third generation with
Third.
fourth and fifth coming in. So, yes, we are right now, the third and fourth generation and fifth generation are running it, but fourth and fifth are still coming in. So, going to school, including my daughter, who would be a fourth generation coming in.
So would you say you were kind of raised into that, or what? I mean, you just kind
100%.
of followed the family business, or I mean,
Yeah, I literally was born into the business. My grandfather and his brother, my great uncle, who's a little bit older than my grandfather, they started the business. My father, my uncle on my grandfather's side, and then on my great uncle's side, his son-in-laws came in because he had all girls. And then, it just kept going down from there. So I went from two to four, and now there's about eight of us running it, and we haven't killed each other yet.
and if
But
you
yeah,
did, you know what to do.
but I literally, like, I was the youngest grandchild on my side and the only girl, and my grandparents lived above the funeral home, hence funeral home, and we had holiday dinners here, birthday dinners, regular dinner, whatever. Like, I literally grew up in this building that I'm sitting in right now. So
Wow.
funny.
Yeah, that's definitely a different way to grow up. And my hat's off to you because I'm glad. I am really glad there are people out there that do what you do. It's not in my in my DNA, but I am glad it is in yours. Because it's not something a lot of us talk about. You and I were talking about that one time. It's a hard subject. It's not like when you go run out and tell everybody, "Hey, I'm getting married,"
Right.
because this is the other end. So tell me, how and why are you encouraging families to pre-plan funerals?
Well, like you just said, no one wants to talk about this. It's a subject that no one ever wants to bring up. It's right up there with taxes. It's the least talked about thing. It's the least looked upon, noted, the thought about thing, because who wants to think about yourself dying or a family member dying? But when you pre-plan, you are getting your wishes down on paper, what you want done, or if you're doing it for a loved one, you're helping them get their wishes down. And it's also, we've heard, funny enough, from family members that call us and say, my dad, my mom, my sister, whoever, prearranged, and they'll say after the funeral or right before the funeral starts, oh my God, them prearranging was the best thing they ever did. It just made my life so much easier. I don't think I could have gotten through this if I had to do it now. So it's a gift. It alleviates a lot of the stress of trying to figure out what you need to do for your loved one. Basically, all we have to do is go over stuff, make sure you're not making any tweaks or changes, and boom, we're scheduling a funeral and we're ready to go. It really, it's a very simple process when it's prearranged. That said, making that phone call and saying, okay, I need to do this for myself is a really hard step. And that's why we tell people, well, when you do it, you're actually giving your family a gift,
Yeah.
whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, and that is a different way to look at it. So I will share with those that know me may know I lost my husband when he was 36. We were laughing at lunch. He was dead by 10, and we never fully discussed any of that stuff. We both knew we wanted to be cremated. That was about it. I never liked discussing it, mostly because I thought it was morbid. And when you're 36, 37, who thinks that you even need to do that? I mean, I was fortunate enough because we were military. The military, took over and kind of helped and just led me down. But you're in such a fog at that time. I mean, I would imagine that probably would have helped had things are done. But again, I'm worried about. I'm working on living life. I'm not looking. I wasn't looking at the other. But then I got slapped in the face with reality.
Well, I think also, when you lose someone who's 36 years old, you're never ready for that. I don't care if you knew he was sick and you did that's a whole different ball game. He had his whole life ahead of him. You had your whole life ahead of with him. That's they're never ready for that. But like I'm in my mid 50s, and this is the stage where you start to think like, I don't want my kids to have to worry about that or pay for it, or, so you want to get stuff done. Now that said, like I became a widow at 50. Now him and I weren't physically together, but we were still legally married, and I had to deal with my kids losing a dad. And, if I wasn't in the business, it would have been a lot harder. I mean, it was a lot easier for me because I know what to do. But that's another thing. Like you're never, when someone dies and you're thrown into that world, you don't know what you need. You don't know what is required. You don't know who to call first. And you're dealing with your own emotions. So hence prearranging hopefully takes that emotional aspect out of it, where you can kind of come in with a clear head and say, okay, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I think I want. And again, nothing's set in stone, but you have a lot of your wishes down.
Yeah.
And
And I know we're going to talk about what's involved in the process, but that brings another question to mind, because what if you have someone that did pre-plan something and then say they remarried someone else, or their life changed and now they don't want to be buried in that place, they want to be buried someone else? I mean, is that easy enough to change and to do, or does that take a lot?
like for Pennsylvania, like it all varies on state laws. So for us, if you send us a notarized letter saying that you've moved out of state, you've, changed whatever, like, put it in a letter, we can refund you your money that you paid in. Now that's the funeral home. Cemeteries are a whole different ballgame, and they're probably not buying back that great. You're stuck with it. But that's between you, and we don't get involved in that. We don't own a cemetery. We don't pretend to we're not going to get involved in that. We'll try and help you. I mean, people list graves for sale in the newspapers, Craigslist, anywhere. You'd be surprised. But you could also donate it to like an organization that helps people in need
Mhm.
if you're not going to use it, which would be a really nice thing to do. But again, like we don't get involved with that. But with the funeral end of it, if you were canceling, we will happily refund you. I mean, or you could prearrange differently and be with your new spouse. Depending.
Yeah, that was stuff that used to run through my mind. It's like, okay, well, now I have someone new in my life, and what happens? And anyway, so what is involved in the process?
When you're actually sitting down in the arrangement, do you mean?
Mhm.
We basically literally plan your funeral. So the first thing we're going to do is find out, do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? What type of service do you want to have with either disposition? And then we're going to ask you numerous questions about yourself. We're going to need a legal address, your date of birth, your place of birth, your parents' names, your spouse's name if you're married, a whole bunch of information, including your social security number that we need for the death certificate at the time of death. Then we're literally going to go to the next stage and get all your survivors and see if you have a specific charity you want donations made to when you die. A lot of people don't, but if there's something, we'll put it down so your family's aware. Then we're gonna literally go step by step and plan your funeral. Do you want a chapel service in one of our buildings? Do you want to do it at a synagogue or a church? Do you want to do everything at the cemetery, graveside? And boom, 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 you pick all your stuff. Then we figure out, do you want newspaper notices, limousines, how many death certificates you're going to need approximately. Like I said, things could change as we move down the line, but we get pretty much all your information down. We total it all up for you. We get you a contract, you sign it, and you start paying on it. You have a year to pay us in full. And once it's paid in full, all the monies are put into what's called an irrevocable trust. The only way we can get the monies out is with a death certificate. And that's it. And you don't even have to hold on to anything. All your family member has to do is know to call the funeral home, and we have it all in our records.
Wow.
Makes it
Okay.
really easy.
So, and I know today's funerals are gotten a lot different than what they used to be. I don't remember when it changed, but I know because I've had to attend more than I care to. But they started at some point starting to call them celebrations of life, and it keeps progressing. So, how would you say they're different today?
So I think like when my grandfather and my father were running the business, funerals were about the decedent person who died. They were more cookie cutter, like, 20 minutes in chapel, process to the cemetery, 10 minutes at the cemetery, then go to the, day aftermath, like whether you had like a luncheon if you're not Jewish, or for Jewish people, they have Shiva. Now it's, like you said, it's a celebration of life. It's not about the deceased, it's about the living. It's what you want. People have gotten into playing music, picture montage, and I think a lot of that has to do with technology. Things have just progressed so much, and now the new thing is, which has been around for a while, but it really took off during COVID, is live streaming and Zooming services. So if you can't attend it physically, you can still be a part of it. So that's become like a huge thing too. But people just are making funerals much more personalized, where back in the day, it was more like, not to sound callous, but treat them and street them, like keep it moving. But the public was fine with that too. And then all of a sudden it became about the eulogy. It came about talking. It became about people speaking at funerals besides the clergy. So that it's made funerals take longer. They take longer to plan. They take longer to execute. People expect more. You can't put up a notice on a website without having 2 or 3 pictures of the deceased, even with family, like they want a whole bunch of stuff. It's more personalized. Personalization and service has definitely become more important than anything else.
Yeah, definitely. So how are funeral directors more involved? Because I know they're more involved now with the family self-care and more with the family. So how would you say they're involved with that?
We follow up with our families, like before the service happens. If there's like a couple days between arrangement and service, we try and keep in touch with our families, make sure they're doing okay, telling them that things have gotten done for them. After the funeral, we keep up with them. We also, our funeral home personally, we provide aftercare support. You'll get a phone call a few weeks after the service, seeing if you need help with estate planning or anything. You get a call a few weeks later. If you need help with grief counseling, we send out an aftercare package to all of our families 30 days after the funeral with, support groups and stuff like that. We trying to check in with our families even a couple months after the funerals, even a year later. Like, we're just trying to do more. We've also taken an initiative where we're doing a lot of giving back to the community. We've done a coat drive for a few years now. Last year, we collected almost 700 coats for an organization. This year, we're doing a food drive, and we're going to collect food for a local charity called Fill Abundance. We're also doing a event on April 13th where we're raising money for a local organization by hosting a professional independent wrestling event with pseudo WWE type wrestlers. Kind of fun. And if this is a success, the goal is to do that every year and pick a different local charity in our area. It has to be a local charity. And again, it's just another way of keeping in touch with our clients and also bringing in new people so that they know that we're here and that we're giving back. But self-care is very new to the industry, I think, and we're trying to make a real conscious effort of being there for our families, not just the day of the funeral.
Yeah, to me, that's kind of going above and beyond what they used to be, because at least doesn't feel so more so like, hey, we got your money, we did this, now we're done with you.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. So you are, as you said, you are in the Philadelphia area, but you actually service a number of areas that are around you. What areas are those?
So we service Philadelphia area includes Philadelphia proper plus the surrounding counties, which would be like Montgomery, Bucks, Chester, and Delaware counties. We also service South Jersey, even North Jersey, Wilmington, Delaware area. We do a lot, funny enough, of people in Florida that their final resting place is up in this area, so we bring them up from Florida when they die, and all around the country. But our main service area, I would say, is the Philadelphia, South Jersey, Delaware area. What this area calls the tri-state area.
Nice. So that's quite an area. To me, that's not strange. My grandma used to live in New Jersey, but moved down to Florida. I think it's a snowbird thing.
The East Coast, that's the retirement. I think the West Coast is more Arizona. The East Coast is Florida.
Yeah, yeah, they have their areas to snowbird too.
Yep.
So, well, those are the areas you service, but I know things are going to vary from state to state. Everything's a little bit different. Any advice for people that are in other states, or maybe what they should ask or look for if they're in other states?
You know what? Whatever, wherever state you are, whoever you're calling, ask whatever question you have to ask, even if you don't think it's important, because you don't know anything until you ask. You know, find out about what they can do. Find out if they can travel, you know, can move your loved one out of state, or if they can do this or they can do that. Whatever that question could be, it's never a dumb question. Like there's nothing specific, but just, you know, and if you're not sure what to ask, contact us. Even if we're not going to do the service, we're more than willing to answer questions and help you. Not a problem.
Appreciate that. Yeah, that is wonderful. And Randy, what's the best way for people to connect with you? Because I know we'll put it in the comments here when we're done.
Our main phone number is 215-927-5800. And then you can always reach us through our website, which is Goldsteins with an S, funeral, one word.com. There's you can send an email to us. It comes to our info, and we answer them all the time. And one of us can get back to you. Not a problem. Those are the two best ways. And they can also reach out. We have a Facebook page, you know, they can reach out on social media, but really through our website or our phone number are the best.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time and shedding some light on a not so popular subject, but one that does need to be discussed, as we said. So I really want to thank you for taking the time and sharing that with everyone today.
Sure. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. And I want everybody to have a wonderful weekend. We have Easter coming up, so I hope you have some great plans for Easter with your family, and we will see you next week.